Rightio. The podcast is back. The potty is back. The inner city hermit has made his illustrious return to the podcasting netherworld, whatever that means. But yes, I am finally back after like 3 or 4, damn, it was a long time, like 3 or 4 months where I did pretty much nothing. Yep. So I'm back now. I did a whole bunch of saving, a whole lot of saving. Also with obviously my girlfriend who wants to get into podcasting now too with her platform. So we bought ourselves a little podcasting present, which is this beautiful microphone in front of me. It cost a lot more than my shitty USB mic, which is it's ironically actually plugged in as a USB mic now. But this thing does way more than that. I can record it directly to a USB, which means I can record podcasts pretty much whenever I want, 24 hours a day. Probably won't do that because you guys will get sick of me. But I am super stoked that we actually have a proper setup going in here. I can hear the playback in my ears. I feel very professional, even though there's probably about 5 people listening. I look the part, which is fantastic. And it's all about looking the part. Doesn't matter if you suck at something. If you got all the gear and no idea, no one's going to know the difference. So fake it till you make it, I guess. But it's good to be back. My goodness, it's good to actually be... I never thought I'd say this. It's good to be back in front of a camera and being able to talk about things that go on in my stupid brain. I did 7 episodes, which was probably in terms of all my YouTube endeavors, which I've had 3. I did a comedy skit type YouTube when I was in high school with my mate, which was done on disgustingly poor quality cameras, which I've spoken about previously. I also did a vegan cooking channel, which that was actually super fun. I enjoyed that, but the video editing part of it, you guys know this if you've listened to any of the other podcasts I've done. This is probably the closest to video editing I'll ever be able to do. Just editing a podcast, which is pretty much just that camera, this audio, that little intro that you just saw, and but that's about the extent of my editing ability. So if you do know anything about video editing, feel free to hit me up, and if you want to play around with one of the videos, no dramas with me. I reckon that'd be cool to get involved. You will have noticed there is some music to my intro video. Finally, there was actually some before the podcast went on a hiatus, but that music is actually done by one of my favorite Brizzy bands, Bugs. Some of you may have known of them. If you don't know, go to their YouTube. I'll link it below. That's one of their tunes going on the intro. I hit them up ages ago to say, hey, can I use some of your, sorry, there's a fly in front of me, some of your music for my intro video, because I really like the music and I like the style of music and all that sort of thing. And they, of course, because they're ripper blokes, so go for it, do whatever you want. So yeah, it'd be awesome if you are listening to this, go check out Bugs. They're a ripper band, cool dudes. And yeah, really good if you love a beer and you love drinking to good music. So hit them up. But yeah, over 4 months, 3 months, a lot's been happening. A lot has been happening. Went to Bali recently, which was really nice. I love Bali, as stereotypically bogan as it sounds. I've been to Bali. That was my 7th time there. Yep, so you can do with that what you will, but I love the place. I don't care. I'll go back there 24/7. The people are lovely. The place is the best. You can always stay. And it's one of those places where you just feel unstressed. Like, it's just none of the locals there, they just always are. They're always happy, they're always nice, and you kind of feed off it. It's like being around like a really happy person, but it's like everybody. And you do kind of feed off it a little bit. For example, you get there and like I wouldn't say I'm highly strung in terms of stress, but I do stress a fair bit. I always think about, what should I be doing? What do I need to do to make sure this day is productive? But, you get there and it's pretty much you just wake up and you do whatever you want. And it's really, really, really nice. So much so that I was even looking at like places to rent there for like a year if ever I just wanted to leave the world behind, leave the hermit life behind and go live in Bali. And it's actually quite affordable, which was pretty surprising too. So yeah, lovely place. But I was there and, as you do in Bali, you always have different things go on, whether you get, you lose something traveling, I don't know. But for me, it was an earthquake. An earthquake happened. I think it was like a magnitude like 5.9 earthquake. Personally, I'm Australian, so the only time I ever think about an earthquake is, I never think about earthquakes. I've never ever thought about Australia being hit with an earthquake, but you never know. Global warming might fuck us up or something and then we'll get hit with a giant earthquake. But I've been in earthquakes before. I've obviously been in Japan and they get earthquakes pretty frequently. Everything's kind of built around the fact that they could get earthquakes. So you feel quite safe there. And the earthquakes we had in Japan were like little tremors. But this one we had was, I wouldn't say it was huge. It was enough to make you realize that if an earthquake happened, we'd all be pretty much fucked because we have no idea how on earth what to do in an earthquake. I haven't been trained. I've just seen movies actually, but it's really funny seeing your body go into a little bit of a panic. Because I was just sitting in my room and all of a sudden everything starts shaking and you kind of question yourself first. You're like, shit, what? Have I had too much coffee? Is old mate next door using the toilet or something? I don't know what's going on. And then it just starts shaking. And then you pretty much, I had no idea. So I ended up getting down on the floor. And I don't know where I've heard this. I don't know if I've ever heard this. Maybe this is just me thinking to myself, I know what I'm doing. But I got down on the ground, and it wasn't until my girlfriend Kia reminded me that we're 3 stories in the air and that getting on the ground is not literally like getting on the ground. So I got down and just looked around, and I think I looked like an idiot. So I'm glad it was only Kia in the room. But then it kind of stopped. And I don't know if you've seen that movie about it's like a docu. It's like not a document. It's not a documentary, but it's like a true story based on the tsunamis that happened in Thailand. And that probably 2 minutes after the earthquake happened, I won't lie, was pretty terrifying because I think all eyes were on the water. And you could just imagine the thoughts that were going through my head. I thought, yeah, here we go, surf's up. Let's go. What's going to happen? I didn't see any water. Lucky enough, I couldn't see the water. But and that's the funny thing too. We're probably a bit far back from the beach, but I knew where the water was, and I was still looking that way. So I ended up going downstairs, and we kind of waited for like a 5 minute. Not that I don't someone said it's 5 minutes. You got to wait 5 minutes. I was like, why does an earthquake, why does a fissure in the ground has like a certain time to keep? And I'm like, 5 minutes? Shit, I got to get all my trembles in 5 minutes. So, it was interesting. It was very interesting because I realized how dumb I am when it comes to natural disasters. I like to keep my disasters quite unnatural. I would like to know they're coming. Unfortunately, with a natural disaster, you don't know shit. It's kind of like it's kind of like a fight that happens on a footy field. Like it just breaks out into nothing, and you sit there and you're like, what do I do? Especially if you're not a violent person like me, you kind of sit around and you're like, okay, cool. No, I don't know what to do. And then you kind of move away and just hope for the best. So that was good. But I loved, and in Bali especially there's I hate to call them something, and I apologize if your name if this is your name and you're not this type of person, I really apologize. It is a very big stereotype, but there's always one like Karen in the situation. And I had a Karen in this situation. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. So when the earthquake happened, I got down low and I went onto the balcony. If you've ever been in an earthquake and you think that's a dumb thing to do, please let me know so I don't do it again. But all of a sudden, I would say a Karen comes she comes bursting out of her room, and she wanted to save the world. She was ready to save the world. And she came out and she started yelling at people on the balconies and yelling at, get down, we need to meet in the middle. And for me, personally, I saw that our hotel was a horseshoe. So in other words, it went up, around, and then the entrance was kind of the free bit. But in my brain, I thought logically, why would you get in the middle of 4 potential falling buildings? I mean, I could probably deal with 1 falling building. I might be able to outrun 1, but 3 coming into each other, I feel like Kaza might have got her logic a little bit slipped up. But apologies for the audio. That was a motorbike. I didn't realize how strong this microphone is. I need to work on that condenser. I don't even know what a condenser is. I need to work on knowing things. And then Karen comes bursting into the pool area. She's ordering people around. These Chinese people are sitting at the top. They've got no fucking clue what Karen's saying because they're obviously from China and don't speak English. So they're looking at this larger Australian woman pointing at them and doing these ones. So they probably were ready for a fight. They thought Karen was throwing the glove slap down the gauntlet, ready for a kick on. But yeah, and then she obviously saw the Chinese people, didn't really think that they were going to understand her, and then she turned and do you know when you lock eyes with someone and immediately it's like laser beams, and it's usually someone you don't want to talk to, but you turn around, you lock eyes, and immediately you feel like there's a small like engagement in your socials. And anyway, Kaza locked eyes with me, and she was ready to save my life. So she started yelling and screaming, telling me to get off the balcony and come into the middle in which there is a pool. So I thought, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die in the hotel room. I'm not going to die under a building in a pool next to Karen. So unfortunately, I ignored Karen. But it was funny seeing her jump up and really take charge. So Kaza, if you're out there, if that's your name, good job. You did save. You may have saved some 4 Chinese tourists, but maybe just a little less enthusiasm, especially considering you're from Australia, and I don't know how whether you've got your black belt in earthquakes or whether you're running around with a white belt. So I appreciate that, but no, I had no idea at all, and I feel like Karen didn't really have too much of an idea either. So, but we got out alive, and of course the Australian media blew it up, said it was huge, and showed videos of people probably with their iPhones, just shaking their iPhones to make it look worse. It wasn't really that bad, but yeah, they're always trying to scare you into not going to Bali and heading to the Gold Coast, which is probably just as bad in terms of thongs and wife beaters, if you get my drift. But yeah, traveling's funny like that, especially travelling to Bali. Travelling to Bali is always good because there's always characters on your plane. The characters could probably be split up into a couple categories, I'd say. And me, because I'm shit scared of flying, had to find things to distract me. So I thought I'd characterize a lot of people on the planes. So a couple characteristics I had was obviously you got the families. And they're usually about 10 of them. They come with grandma, granddad. Granddad's usually named Bob. It's amazing. There must have been a real big generation of adults or generation of kids born with the name Robert, because granddad's always name is Bob. And he usually brings one of the kids And by kids, I mean it's an adult kid, because Bob's usually around 70 years old, but he looks not a day past 95, because he punches a million durries a day. But yeah, so you got Bob, and you usually got Brenda, their grandma. And then coming through, you got probably the more successful son, I would say, because he's kind of got his shit together a little bit. And he's got, I'd usually say, 3 kids, usually, high school age. The girl's probably not old enough to drink in Australia, but she'll probably sneak a few while she's over in Bali. And then you usually have the brother and sister who are a little bit younger, and they fight the whole freaking 6-hour flight there. Then you usually have Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve usually is by himself, but Uncle Steve loves to go and mess around with the kids, and he usually gets the kids real riled up right when they sit down in front of your seat and you're finally relaxed, but the kids are really riled up. So you got a big family there. So the big family comes through. They're usually there, usually mostly all in singlets, which is really great on a plane because you're already in a fart fest of a cabin, and there's nothing that makes farts smell better than a little sprinkling of BO. So always good to wear a singlet on the plane. Please don't wear a singlet on the plane. It's gross. Just if you're gonna do anything, you got to remember there are going to be like 300 people in there. Everyone's got their own scent. If you're not hiding your scent, it's just like a scent, just that literally all the smells are just doing that. So, yeah. And then usually you've got your influencers. So they're usually a group of 3 girls. They're there to take a couple photos. Probably got a villa to themselves. They're usually pretty quiet, but they always wear the neck pillows. It's a 6-hour flight. It leaves at 7 in the morning. Probably no sleeping will be done, but you need to have your pink Gucci neck warmer, which I didn't even know they made, but apparently they do. So you got a couple of those. Then you usually got your solo travelers. Solo travelers are always fun, considering, Kira and I usually get 2 seats, and if you've ever been on a Jetstar flight, it's usually 3 seats. So we like to call those the Roulette Passengers. And the Roulette Passengers are great because the Roulette Passengers are the ones that you can either be broken by a Roulette Passenger, or you can be the breakee or the breaker, I would say. So if you were wanting to be the breaker on the plane, what you do is you get your partner and yourself, and you wait until the back of the line before you board the plane. Now, I love being the breaker because I love seeing that tiny little bit of happiness just squeezed out of the solo traveler as he realizes he does not have 3 seats to himself on the 6-hour journey. So it's always nice because they're always like looking up. Oh no, look, about to leave, and there's no one beside me. Usually looks a bit smug. Usually starts to get a little bit set, like he gets a little bit cocky, and he'll put his bag on the seat next to him, and then bam, the hermit strikes. And you always ask him how he is, and he goes, yeah, good, but in his head he fucking hates you because you just ruined his flight. So it's always good being a breaker, but with these Roulette Passengers, if you are at the front of the line, so if you're in the seat aisle row A to whatever the first, A to, I don't know, J, which they make you board first or whatever, so you get at the front of the line, and all of a sudden you and your partner think you've got 1 extra seat between you. So roles are reversed there, but the downside to this is it's usually a smelly backpacker that'll come in, and he will 95% have a terrible looking beard, and then he'll be wearing a singlet as well. And you can just sit there and prepare for 6 hours of smelling every sort of scent that comes out of this guy. So those are my usual Bali stereotypes that swing through. And yeah, but all jokes aside, it is fun. Usually you get stuck next to a Roulette Passenger, and they're actually a great bloke. We had one lady, the lady who was luckily sitting next to us, and she had just been on a 4-week juice cleanse. So that was great. That was really good to hear about how her juice cleanse went. I was really into every word that was coming out of her mouth. I'm completely lying here, listening to a lady talk about a juice cleanse was heinous, and I never wish to do it again. And it was only for about 15 minutes she was talking. So thank you to that lady for letting me know about your juice cleanse. I can't wait to go on one myself. Anyway, but no, it's good. But I think it's, I love it. I love going on holidays. Flying's not my thing. If there's any sort of turbulence, I'm pretty much, I'm thinking I'm dead. That's pretty much the way I work when it comes to planes. There's something about being that high in a tin can that really just doesn't kind of sit right with the whole safety thing. Like, they give you all these stats like, oh yeah, you never know, like you're more likely to die being struck by lightning. But I hate those, because why would you want to be struck by lightning as well as, being in a plane crash? Like, what does that say for that poor bloke that's been in a plane crash and he's been struck by lightning? Does he just have really bad luck or something? So I hate those stats, because you're good, or statistically, I was like, statistically, I probably won't throw, an egg at your face. But, it would just take me to pick up an egg and throw it at your face to throw those statistics out of order. So stats are great, but when it comes to planes, I'm scared either way. Don't like it. But travel's worth it, so I kind of just sit there and just, hold on and sweat for 6 to 8 hours. So that's always fun. But, they say the destination's nothing without the journey. And if you shit scared the entire journey, that destination, regardless of whether it's good or bad, it's just nice to be on land at the end of it. But it was really good. So that was great. Came back really relaxed. Came back actually really motivated to get this going again, which was fantastic, really good. And it's great now. I've got the mic sorted and the little bottom bit, which you can't see because I'm pointing at it, and I'm not used to that again, because some of you are watching this on YouTube, some of you are just listening to it in your car ride to work or wherever you go. But yeah, I've got a actual little input for a microphone, which means I can finally start interviewing. Well, I wouldn't even say interviewing people. I'd probably say conversating with a whole bunch of people. I've had a whole bunch of mates who really want to get on. They don't do anything cool, but they're actually pretty funny blokes, so it'd be nice to have a yarn with them. But yeah, like a lot's been happening. I think one of the major ones that's affected so many people, and I don't know, I'm still yet to work out the pros and cons of this, but they've taken away, likes. You can't like anything anymore. You have to pretty much just not like anything. So in this world, you're not allowed to like anything. So it really it's really I have no clue why this is a thing. I get it, on one point, like the whole mental health thing, and okay, fine, I get it, I know, I teach, I get kids, I got it, okay, it affects some people, but, at the same time, what are we teaching kids if their whole self-esteem is built around a number of people who like a photo? It does kind of kill me a little bit in that this is where we are. And not even that, just this is our struggle now. Our struggle now is dealing with likes. I don't understand it. Whatever, if it works, great. And everyone's kind of saying oh yeah, let's get rid of these influencers and stuff like that. I think people really have to understand that influencers are important when it comes to marketing. You can pay them out and say all they do is, take photos and duck face and whatever. But in terms of a company, if you're a company owner, these people are really viable for your business. So, when they're saying death to the influencer and all that, come on, it's their job. I mean, one day there'll be bloody nothing to mine because the world's fucked. So what are we going to do there? Just, death to the miners. And then, one day we're not going to be farming as much because everyone's going to go plant-based. Had to slip that one in. But realistically, we're going to get to a point where people aren't eating as much meat because of they want quality meat, and we're going to have less farmers, and what are we going to do then? So it's a job. It's a freaking job. But apart from that, I think really, like, what have we done to get to a point where taking away likes is good for mental health? Like, I feel like if that's a solution, how far back are we from the problem? Like, where can we trace this problem back to where people don't care as much about this shit? Like, social media has been around for a while now. I don't understand it. I don't know, maybe people need more hobbies so they don't dislike people because they don't have 1,000 likes. I don't get it. I don't. I really don't. So, some people it might mean more to them than others, but yeah, shit. I mean, social media. It's like a fucking rocket ship, Like, rocket ships are sick and they're great. They look cool. Everything's fun, But if you're gonna ride the rocket ship, you have to be aware that the thing could blow up. So if you're not willing to deal with it when it blows up and malfunctions or, something goes wrong, don't get on the fucking rocket ship. Just stay off the rocket ship. See, if social media was a rocket ship, there'd be a lot less people trying to get on it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know why this is even a thing, but it is, and we have to deal with it as a society. We got to work towards it. We have to love each other. We have to work with each other. And I think we all need a trip to Bali, to be completely honest. Go over there and not worry too much about our likes. Do your thing in Bali. Grab a surfboard, start an Instagram travel account. Call yourself Ocean Gypsy, and then take some photos, become an influencer, not get paid because there's no likes anymore. And yeah, who knows? Who knows where things are going? Anyway, I'm chewing through time now, and I so much to talk about, and I'm already at that half-hour point. And when I get to that half-hour point, I need to tone myself back because we start to ramble a bit, and I don't want to ramble too much to you guys. But pretty much this podcast is kind of like a welcome back. I'm back. I'm really keen to be back. I love recording. I bought myself a hard drive today. I've literally solved every single freaking problem / excuse for me to be not doing podcasts anymore. And I'm so keen. And just talking now, getting things off my chest, having a coffee, having a chat is really good. So episode 8, this has been episode 8. If you are listening to this on the way home, on the way to work, I hope you've had a great day / I hope you are having a good day. If it's your weekend, have a fantastic weekend. Tell someone you love them. Make sure that tell your mate you like his shoes or something. Build each other up. I think it's important that we do that. But yeah, anyway, stay cool, hermits, and I will see you very shortly again. Peace out.